Hi, and welcome to the AWS Compliance Forum. Thanks for taking the time to join today's session. As Bowen mentioned, my name is Roya Williams, and I'm a program manager in the compliance team. I'll serve as your moderator for today's session, and Chad Wolf, our director, will be your main presenter. The introduction webinar is really a customization session for you. We've signed you up for the forum, and now we'd like to customize it to meet your needs. Your input is critically important to us, so throughout the webinar, we'll be giving you polling questions and opportunities for you to ask other questions. Your responses will directly impact how we plan our upcoming content and events. For your convenience, the resource links referenced throughout the session will be available in the navigation bar on your screen. And after this session, I'll send you an email with those links as well. Now I'll turn it over to Chad, who will give you some background on where the idea for the forum came from and our agenda for today's session.
Thanks, Roya. Hey, thanks everybody for joining today. We had a session like this last week, and we're glad to have this second concluding session of the introduction to the forum. The purpose of this webinar really is to introduce you to the unique community that you've already signed up for. We created this forum, the AWS Compliance Forum, based on some customer feedback and primarily a call we had in late July with 4 of our large customers who were leaders in each of their industries, of 4 separate industries. They all shared that really most of the cloud providers only give information about how their environment is compliant. We term that as compliance of the cloud. But while that's great and that's a great first step, what they really wanted to learn about was how to achieve compliance while using the cloud. So that would be like compliance in the cloud while you're using the cloud. So whether you're trying to achieve compliance with internal policies or internal regulations, standards, or legal requirements, this AWS forum was developed to help you achieve compliance in the cloud. So with that being said, here's our agenda here on the slide. I'll advance the slide. First, we'd like to provide a very brief soundbite on the AWS compliance side, like what we do. Then we're going to focus into what we really want to talk about is an introduction to the AWS Compliance Forum. So as Roya mentioned, we have some polling questions and opportunities for questions throughout this session, and your input will greatly influences how we craft the forum, how we craft our sessions, what webinars we produce, and what discussions we broker. So we'll then chat about what you can expect after the session in the coming few months, and finally what we'll do is we'll cover some basic Q&A. So I just want to start with the compliance of AWS. As many of you know, because many of you have requested reports from us, the compliance responsibilities are shared between you and AWS, you as a customer and us as a cloud provider. We provide you with a variety of different independent reports and certifications around AWS and our portion of the environment. Each of these reports is the result of an audit of an independent party. In fact, we have 3 major auditors across all of our reports to provide you with a variety of objective perspectives and transparency into how we're operating security in our environment. Each of these reports also provide you with a unique view of our controls. For example, some of these reports are issued annually or semi-annually. Some are point-in-time audits, and others are period-in-time audits. Some are focused on certain industries and functions like the payment card systems, while others are focused on best practices security or information system management, or are geared for specific industry requirements such as the public sector, U.S. government. So a couple of just to cover our programs very lightly, the SOC 1 is a dual standard report that can meet a wide range of auditing requirements for U.S. and international auditors because it does align with the SSA 16, formerly the SAS 70, and the ISAE 3402, so it works for both U.S. and international. The SOC 2 security report is based on defined industry security standards and provides additional info about how AWS protects your data. PCI DSS assures you can use our PCI compliant infrastructure for storing, processing, and transmitting credit card information. ISO 27001, that's a widely adopted global security standard that serves as the foundation for many other international standards and requirements. Our HIPAA compliance program, this means that HIPAA covered entities and their business associates can use AWS to process, maintain, and store protected health information by starting out by signing a business associate agreement, or BAA, with AWS. With our FedRAMP compliance program, AWS has achieved an agency authority to operate at the moderate impact level for GovCloud and for all US-based regions. As we relate to FISMA and DIACAP, AWS enables U.S. government agencies to achieve and sustain their own compliance with FISMA, and DoD organizations have the same kind of requirements for DIACAP. Our ITAR, or International Traffic in Arms compliance, means that the GovCloud environment provides a location physically in the U.S. and access only by U.S. personnel that are U.S. persons, which is a ITAR requirement. So if you're new to understanding AWS's compliance posture and the shared responsibility model, I recommend starting with our website. We've got some white papers and our actual reports on this, and there's more information out there to learn more about that. And there's a link here on the website on the slide itself, and our email address.
Okay, so now we're going to move into the focus of today's session, which is your AWS Compliance Forum. We've divided the session to address your basic questions around who, what, when, where, why, and how the forum will operate. And thanks ahead of time for your active involvement in the polling questions. Your responses will help us to further customize the forum to meet your needs.
Okay, this slide,
as you may remember from your entrance survey, you were asked if you had interest in connecting with other AWS customers. You may have answered yes to that question and hoped that other customers felt the same way. Well, I'm happy to share that almost all of you did respond yes, you'd like to connect with other customers. And Chad can give you some background on the great combination of customers we have in the forum.
Okay, thanks. Okay, this is my slide. This slide covers a sample of different roles that we've engaged for the forum. Each of these roles you see here is one that at least 3 other forum members has identified themselves with. So we've got C-suite members, including CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, and CISOs, and Chief Operating Officers. We've got VP of Engineering and Operations. We have architects, engineers, and managers focused on networking, security, operations, information systems, cloud solutions, compliance, and more. So I think you'll see the value in the forum in connecting with people in roles like yours. The forum allows you to have collaborative discussions about best practices and lessons learned with your peers in your same role, and how to be more effective using the cloud based on your role. So in addition to customer in roles like yours, the AWS Forum connects you with other AWS customers in your industry. So again, this provides you with exposure to fellow customers who are both peers in your role and peers in your industry. So if you're a service or a technology provider serving a variety of industries, you can join different discussion groups for customers across industries. So you're not limited to sticking to only those that are designated for one single industry. Finally, in addition to connecting with customers in similar roles and industries, the forum provides you with an opportunity to connect with customers who adhere to the same standards or regulations that you are currently pursuing or you're interested in pursuing. So the graph on this slide, I'm not sure if you can see it that great, but it shows you some input from you and your fellow forum members in our entrance survey on which compliance programs your org will be pursuing in the upcoming year. So you see there's a wide range of standards or regulations that we'll be addressing in the forum itself. Okay, so that brings us to our first polling question. Are you most interested in connecting with customers who are in your role, your industry, or those who adhere to similar standards and regulations? I'll give you 30 seconds to respond. We'll use this information to figure out how to best construct the forum events. Okay, so thank you for responding. It looks like it's in roles like mine and in my industries are close, but those that prefer to, that are interested in those who adhere to the similar standards and regulations, looks like it's the highest at 73%, so that's good information. Thank you.
As you may remember from your entrance survey, in addition to gauging your interest in connecting with other customers, we also asked what your interest was in connecting with AWS specialists. A vast majority of you shared that you would like to connect with AWS specialists to best plan and architect your environment to achieve compliance. Chad will give you some insight on the AWS specialist resources available to you as a member of the Compliance Forum.
Okay, so in terms of some on-demand resources developed by the AWS specialist in this space, there are two real repositories that you should know about: the AWS Architecture Center and the AWS Documentation Site. So the Architecture Center is designed to provide you with some guidance around best practices to build your highly scalable and reliable applications in the AWS cloud. The AWS Documentation Site provides some useful information about AWS services themselves, ranging from introductions to the services to some really deep documents with advanced features. So as Roya mentioned, the links to both of these sites and other resources are in your navigation bar, and she'll send you an email with the links after this webinar. So while these on-demand resources are great and very useful and very used by our customer base, we understand that one of the benefits of being in the AWS Compliance Forum is the opportunity to have discussions directly with AWS specialists. In fact, there are basically three groups of specialists who are actively involved with you as part of the forum. First, you have AWS Compliance Architects, who are subject matter experts in the compliance standards and regulations for a specific industry group like healthcare, financial services, U.S. government, etc. Second, you have AWS Security Solution Architects, who are security-focused architects who work with customers to plan environments with an emphasis on adhering to security and compliance obligations. And then third, you have some AWS professional services consultants who are focused on providing in-depth consulting services to you around building and implementing architectures with a focus on security engineering, governance, risk, and compliance. So that brings us to our next polling question. After hearing about these different specialists, about the different specialist groups available to you, whatever your compliance goals are, which of these specialists would be most useful to you right now? So I'll give you 30 seconds to respond. Okay. All right. Looks like as far as the results go, compliance architects, a high number of you flagging compliance architects, security solution architects, and then 16% for AWS professional service consultants. So that's good. We have actually for this session, this webinar, we have some representatives from all three of these groups here, and I'd like these members to chime in and talk about kind of what their role is and how they can help you. So from the AWS Compliance Architects team, we have Chris Wally and Chris Guile. From the AWS Security Solution Architects team, we have one of AWS's first solution architects, Max Ramsey. And from the AWS Professional Services team, we have Tom Sheehan. So I'll turn it over to the specialists to each share a little bit about themselves and their group and why they feel the AWS Compliance Forum is important. So we'll start with you, Chris Wally. Would you go ahead?
Hey, thanks, Chad. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Wally, the Life Sciences Compliance Architect for AWS. The Life Sciences Compliance Program covers both healthcare and biotech regulations like HIPAA, HITECH, and FDA's electronic systems rules. The overall mission of our program is providing safe, effective, and secure cloud services that advance human health. And we do this in a number of different ways. We educate our customers and staff about their compliance responsibilities. We assist you in setting up AWS solutions and agreements like BAAs. We monitor AWS operations for life sciences related issues. And we also work with industry organizations and regulators to learn about new needs and upcoming regulations. And I'm looking forward to being part of this group with you and maybe doing a industry-specific forum at some point. And now I'll turn it over to the other Chris.
Thanks, Chris. My name is Chris Guile. I'm the Federal Compliance Programs Manager for AWS Compliance. I manage our team of compliance architects dedicated to customer compliance enablement across the various industries, such as, again, U.S. government and life sciences. I also manage the oversight of our federal compliance programs, such as our FISMA requirements under the GSA and our extensive FedRAMP program. The goal, as you heard from Chris just now, the goal of our compliance architects is to provide you with that direct compliance expertise and resources to enable you to move regulated workloads to AWS and benefit from the recognized resiliency, security, and cost savings that AWS does offer. The AWS Compliance Forum is critically important to me because it gives us that opportunity to directly interact with you so we can learn about your compliance goals and moving those regulated workloads to AWS, and then in turn support your compliance objectives in AWS, as well as connecting you with other customers, specialists, and resources, allowing you to achieve your compliance goals faster and more effectively than you might have and would in a traditional on-premise environment. So I'll turn it over to Max.
Hi there, my name is Max Ramsey, and I'm a Principal Security Solutions Architect with America's-wide responsibility for helping customers understand how to achieve their compliance, security, and privacy goals in AWS. We have several security solutions architects that can help you understand what controls are available in AWS, how to use them to fulfill your requirements, how to adjust your own controls to work within AWS, and what are the leading security compliance and privacy best practices. We are also a conduit for bringing our customers' security compliance and privacy requirements back to the service team so they can build features and services that will help customers achieve them more effectively. We view the Compliance Forum as an important channel to be able to help our customers achieve their goals within AWS. Thank you, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future. And here's Tom.
Hello, and happy Halloween, everyone. My name is Thomas Sheehan, and I'm a senior consultant with the AWS Professional Services Organization, focusing primarily on security, governance, risk, and compliance for our enterprise customers. AWS Professional Services was formed to assist customers and partners with engagements ranging from IT transformation through complex AWS implementation and guiding security, risk, and compliance efforts. As a key component of our global security, risk, and compliance practice, we strive to build confidence and capability for customers by operationalizing the shared responsibility model that Chad mentioned earlier. To date, and more specifically, our practice engagements focus on security architecture, engineering governance, and risk management, and also compliance assistance. This work includes global in-depth support with addressing compliance and control hurdles typically encountered by enterprises when adopting cloud services. With that in mind, we see this compliance forum as an excellent opportunity for our team to hear firsthand what the current hurdles are and build out our skills and practice offerings accordingly to ensure continued customer success. The benefits of engaging with professional services are significant and tend to include an overall acceleration of customer adoption time to value, the controlled enablement of new AWS use cases, and the cross-pollination of best practices as we collaborate across our customer base. Please reach out to your AWS sales team for further information on engaging with us at AWS Professional Services.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. And I want to say, when we go to our significant customers with significant security, risk, and compliance challenges, we actually go to the table with all these team members. The compliance architects providing that deep SME knowledge about whatever industry regulation they're concerned about, the security solution architects that really can help whiteboard how to construct your environment to be very secure by default, and then the ProServe consultants that really help the customer get going and get things implemented and validated. So it's a really great team, and it really works out in practice. So we'll now open it up a bit for some questions, and I know that questions have been coming in. Roya, do you have any questions that have been submitted?
Yeah, we've had a few questions come through. The first one is, can I join events from more than one industry?
Absolutely. I think I talked a little bit about this before. We want the forum to meet your needs, and we don't know what all those intricate needs of the forum are going to be. So we understand that joining one industry group might be helpful, but maybe multiple ones would be helpful as well, and you can certainly join those. In fact, we also know that there's some service providers, maybe software as a service provider or other kinds of partners in the forum as well that have multiple customers from multiple industries, and they would need to join to get a full perspective. So you're definitely welcome to do that. Just reach out to us at AWS Compliance at Amazon.com. That's the email we have in this deck, and let us know what industries you'd like to be aligned with and what webinars and things you'd like to be invited to. Do we have another question?
Yep, there's one more. How often will specialists be involved in forum events?
How often? Oh, forum events, always. They'll always be there. We'll have, depending on who, what the subject matter of the forum event is, we will have the solution architects, we'll have the consulting team, and the compliance architects that make the most sense to be at those sessions. Okay, so I think for now, keep the questions coming. For now, we'll go on with the presentation. Yeah.
So now we're going to move on to the what, why, and how of our compliance forum. Almost all of you shared in your entrance survey that you want support in interpreting and implementing control requirements in the cloud. That response is the foundation of our purpose in developing the forum, and I'll let Chad tell you more.
All right, so our focus here started with the question. We asked this during the forum entrance survey. Are you comfortable interpreting and implementing control requirements in the cloud? So about 90% of you shared that, is this bar coming up for you guys? The current state bar?
Okay, one more time. Okay.
Okay, there we go. About 90% of you shared that in your current state, you're not fully comfortable interpreting and implementing control requirements in the cloud. So even for that minority who are fully comfortable, most of you shared that you would still like some support on this in the future. So our goal of the forum is that in the not-so-distant future, you're able to emphatically state that, yes, you are comfortable interpreting and implementing control requirements in the AWS cloud. So that's our goal, to enable you to easily and effectively interpret and implement control requirements in the cloud by connecting you with customers, other customers, specialists on our side, and content, documents and enablers that you'll need to be comfortable implementing control requirements in the cloud. Okay, so we've already chatted about customers and specialists in the forum. So next we'll discuss the specialized content that's available to you. So first we have some industry and regulatory specific workbooks to walk you through achieving and maintaining compliance for things like FFIEC, HIPAA, PCI. We'll also host webinars outlining changes to standards and provide some interpretive guidance on the net new requirements and how they apply to the AWS cloud. This will be, I think, especially relevant in those with the releases of version 3 of the PCI data security standards coming out. The release of the ISO 27001 standards is out, and that hasn't been updated since 2005, so there's some changes there. We'll publish also white papers outlining the features available in AWS that enable you to govern your IT resources in AWS better than you would on your on-premise environment. I think this is really key because as we build in some really innovative features in AWS, a lot of those features are centered around enablement of better security management. So I think we'll bring those up to you and describe how those might be used from a security and compliance perspective. We'll also publish customer compliance case studies where your fellow customers in the forum and outside the forum will share like their compliance stories, including what worked well and what they learned, as well as providing like a reference architecture to help you design your own environment as effectively as possible. And if you'd like to, by the way, if you'd like to publish, if you'd like us, AWS, to publish a compliance case study based on your organization's experience in achieving compliance while using AWS, you can reach out to us at awscompliance@amazon.com, and we'd be happy to work with you. We have a few customers that have done this, and we've got some great stories already there in the case study set. Okay, so in addition to having those types of content available to you, we recognize there's a wide range of people that are interested in this. Like with all the people that the types of roles that we have in the forum, we understand that there's going to be different levels of depth that you're going to be interested in discussing security compliance in AWS. So we've customized the content based on the depth of detail that interests you. So first off, like our compliance architects can provide like a 50,000-foot level view of security and compliance and considerations for your own industry. We can then one level down and detail down. We can work with our way through describing successes and challenges experienced by other customers in your industry. And if you want to go a level down from that, our professional services team can work with you to conduct a mapping of your organization's existing controls to the requirements and to what AWS provides. and we've done that with many customers in the past. One level down from that, more detailed, we can host a conversation with our specialist and you directly to discuss how to architect around net new controls or net new things with AWS in your environment. And probably the lowest level down is engaging the professional service team to discuss how to best implement the controls in your environment and actually get those implemented. So that brings us to our next polling question. I'd really love to know at what level this group would like to understand and be presented with this information. So given the industry standard, policy, or regulation that is top of mind of you right now, what level of detail would be the most important and most helpful to you? An overview of considerations, anonymized customer stories, mapping your controls to new ones, architecture-focused discussions, or implementation-focused discussion. I'll give you a few seconds to respond. All right. Oh, great. Wow. It's interesting to see what your perspective is here. I think I advanced the slide. Shoot. But it is interesting to see that that we're seeing a lot more of you wanting to get to the mapping, to get the architecture and how to get through. I think we've heard this loud and clear previously, and which is the purpose of this forum, and that is to get into the details instead of talking about things in generalities. I know personally, looking through all the standards that are out there, all the requirements, they're usually very general, and it's left up to us, you and us, to figure out how to interpret those and implement them. So this is good feedback. So thank you. Okay. So the final piece of customization here for the forum is determining how you'd like it delivered. So we have, the content medium starts with on-demand, one-way interaction with case studies and white papers. I think our compliance reports could fall into that category as well. We can host webinars like this one where it's more like an educational training in focus rather than a two-way conversation. I have no idea if you guys are responding to this unless I have the polling question. So these are good for general training or education. But we can also have more two-way interactions with general discussion groups, like smaller groups about discussing issues in your industry. We could have discussion groups with customers who are pursuing the same compliance programs as you. And finally, we have public appearances with AWS, and we have the option for live presentations at AWS or events like AWS reInvent, which is our annual conference. We have customers that do present at some of our conferences. So here's the polling question. Can you go ahead and answer this one? Which of the following are you most interested in? White papers and case studies to help you kind of do it on your own. Webinars, this is education sessions. Industry-focused groups where you're a smaller group with open discussion. Standards-focused groups where we're talking about a specific standard with those impacted, or live presentations with AWS Compliance. Okay. Compliance white papers case is 0. I would expect that because everybody on here has probably already been there, done that. So that's expected. Webinars, not as useful. Got it. Industry focused, not as good as standards focused. So that's good to know. So standards focused discussion groups around something specific. That's far and away the best use of our time. So great. Thank you for that.
Okay, so we've had a few questions come in as you went through that section. One of the first questions was, what if I want all levels of content?
All levels of content. All of our webinars and discussion group will start with some kind of high-level summary to level set on the topic of discussion, similar to maybe how we presented this. But I think then in each session we'll move into more detail. So, based on the polling that we just received from you, I think that we will move quickly into that area. Maybe the high-level content won't be as relevant, but in the sessions themselves, we'll do a background, high level, and then jump into the detail. So, just based on the feedback today, I'm not sure a session entirely on just general stuff is going to be as useful as getting into more of the details. So, I think that just attend the session that interests you, and we'll attempt to balance it to where it's as much detail as we need to go. Any other questions, Roya?
Yeah, there was another one kind of in line with what you were just sharing, which is, what if I don't know what I want to know yet? Can I get overviews of topics and also detailed discussions of other topics?
Yeah, so that's a great question. As an AWS Compliance Forum member, you'll receive the invitations to join all webinars and discussion forums, and you can decide which ones you think are relevant or interesting, and then for each of those sessions, you can either participate as a listener or a contributor. Okay. So now that we've discussed the who, what, why, and how, let's chat about these final components, the where, when, and where of the AWS Compliance Forum. So we understand how busy your schedule is. So we plan to have many opportunities to connect with the forum. Hopefully they'll hit in times that you're available. Starting on a monthly basis, we're going to be doing industry or regulatory or standard specific discussion groups in a high level of detail based on your feedback. On a quarterly basis, we'll do some general interest webinars. This is the plan anyway, to provide education and training around the topics like changes in standards or regulatory frameworks. I think those are really good for high-level webinar type sessions. On a semi-annual basis, we'll do a forum newsletter that will summarize the content and resources from the monthly, quarterly events. So if you can't actually attend, then you can get kind of the Cliff Notes version. And then annually, we'd like to even do an AWS meet and greet. So this would be entirely optional, but we know some of you would like to put a face to a voice. And then finally, we have these ad hoc, or maybe this is also, maybe the annual stuff is also ad hoc, but we plan on continuing our case study programs and aligning with you in opportunities for public appearances. I know 0% of you showed interest in that, but I think that if there's anybody that does want to showcase, we'll work with you to present at events. Okay, Roya, any other questions that we have that came through?
One came through right as you started to share our cadence. When will all of the forum events start?
So the forum events, we'll start those in January. I think we wanted to do some just after the holidays. We have reInvent this next month, and then who wants to attend a forum discussion in December. So we'll start in January and then go from there for the monthly cadence.
Another question was, can we meet and greet more often than once a year?
Sure. We're happy to coordinate that. If you, as an individual company or a group, wants to get together to meet live, that sounds fine. And I know many of you visit the Seattle campus during an office visit. Many of our customers who are moving sensitive or regulated workloads to AWS, or a massive amount of their IT to AWS, they come on site and they get kind of they go through many presentations with our specialists in each area. And in those cases, you'll see me or members of my team engaging with you and presenting directly, so we'll be able to see you then. So if you're in the forum and you come to the Seattle campus, definitely let us know, and I'll bring whoever's in the office to come meet you. Any other questions, Roya?
Yeah, one came in that said, case studies sound like a lot of work. How much time does a case study take?
Case studies, they sound like a lot of work, but really we do some of the work for you. So really it takes about 10 hours per customer. That's probably average. We provide a list of questions. It's like a formal, kind of process we have. We provide a list of questions, and you submit responses and submit a high-level sketch of your architecture. And then we would then draft the case study and then get your approval before we go live. So we do a lot of the legwork on those. Okay, so let's move on. So now that we've given you an overview of the forum and received some of your input on preferences, the next question is, what's next? So we'd like to get a head start before our next event, so we have a few great places to start. So if you want to get going right now, we have some resources here for you and things that you can access. First, the webinar. This one will be published tomorrow, and you'll receive an email with the link, so you can socialize this with other people in your org who should be involved in the forum. Number two, if you want to stay informed about security and compliance topics, take a look at our AWS security blog. This is a specialized blog for security and compliance information, and it has a lot of hands-on things that you can use to implement in your environment. So a lot of detail. I know the preferences of getting into the detail are high here, so you can go there and see a lot of good detailed information. Finally, if you're headed to reInvent, which I hope you are, I strongly recommend registering for these compliance-focused sessions. If you're not able to attend, that's fine too. The sessions are recorded and are posted on YouTube in late November. So that brings us to the end of our content.